Shalom to everyone. Hanoch asked me to say something about Sfiras Omer. Actually, there's a lot to say about Sfiras Omer, but I don't want to get too far off from our major topic. That is the Baal Shem Tov. But I want one thing I'll say. Maybe next week we'll talk about it more. But in many shuls throughout the world that are Nusach Ashkenaz, when it comes to Sfiras Omer, the Baal Tefillah finishes, it says Kaddish after Shmona Esrei, Kaddish, and then they either wait to after Aleinu or before Aleinu, and the Shliach Tzibur says the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, Sfiras Omer, Hayom, Kach V'Kach. In most of the Sidurim that I've seen, there's always an introduction. Sfiras Omer. And the introduction mentions the pasuk, Hineni Muchan Muzum, Muzum L'Kayim Mitzvah Say, Shal Sfiras Omer, Shenemar, Usvat L'Chem Markas HaShabbos, mentions the pasuk, and then they say L'Shem Yichud Kudsha B'Rich Shchintei. Why is it that only the places that daven Nusach Sfard, or the real Sfardim, or the Mekubalim, say that, whereas those people that daven Ashkenaz just go ahead with the bracha, and these are people who are Talmidei Chachamim, Rabbanim, this is their minhag. No introduction, just go right to it. Bracha and the Sfira, and that's it. They don't even say afterwards either the on the Bakoach or Lamanatseach, the Ribbon Shalom. That's all discounted. Discounted. And it's not just because of, well, it's not important. It's done with an intention. So I want to explain it, and I hope that everybody here will take it seriously because it's important. We have a klal in Shas, mitzvos tzrichos kavana. When you do a mitzvah, you have to have intention, and we're learning about intention all the time in the Baal Shem Tov. Intention, your kavana, is vital. It's vital. The intention that you have, the kavanah that you have, changes the entire reality. I want to give you an example and show you how that's true. It changes the reality. The best example that I can think of right now is, we know that the karbanos of the Nesiim in Pashas Naso, that they read in Chanukah time, in Kriyas Torah. And when you come to Parshas Naso, it's mentioned, it's the longest parsha in the Torah, Parshas Naso. When do we read Parshas Naso? Always we read Parshas Naso right after Shavuos. Why do we read Parshas Naso right after Shavuos? Because we want to show that after receiving the Torah at Har Sinai, when we have an opportunity to hear the psukim of the Torah, we don't want to let go. We want to have as long an experience as possible. So we have the largest amount of psukim in the Torah right after Shavuos, Parshas Naso. Now, why is it the longest parsha? The longest parsha is because there were 12 tribes, and each tribe had a nasi, and every nasi brought a korban when it came to Chanukas HaMizbeach. The inauguration of the Mizbeach, each nasi, each shevet was represented. And we know the Torah does not waste words. On the contrary, the Torah always tries to be very, very concise and not use any extra letters even when it's not necessary. We always try to...
But in Nasi they repeat the same thing 12 times.
Exactly. That's exactly the question. Why is the description of the korban of the nasi repeated 12 times? 12 times repeated, and there's no change. There's no change in the psukim at all. The same words are repeated 12 times, which makes the parsha the longest parsha. Why couldn't the Torah say after the first parsha, all the other kabbanis, all the other scenes brought the same thing? L'chein, to repeat 12 times?
Each one is as important.
Well,
Each one is important.
Yeah, each one important. But it wouldn't minimize the importance by saying, V'chein kulam, they're all important. Why do I have to repeat each one? Listen to the answer. The answer is an amazing answer. When I bring a carbon and you bring a carbon, and I have my kavanas in mind, I want the carbon to accomplish this and this and this. And you have a carbon that you're bringing, the exact same carbon, but you have different kavanas. You have intentions for this and this and that, which I didn't think about, and you are thinking about it. You're not thinking about mine, I'm not thinking about yours. That changes the reality of the carbon. Even though the actual carbon itself, the burning on the Mizbeach, the Soles, the Mincha, everything was exactly the same. But since the Kavanah was different, that changes the entire quality of the carbon. It's a different reality, totally different. And each carbon from each Nasi, he had his Shevet in mind. I have to bring a carbon for my Shevet, and my Shevet has such and such needs, and therefore these are my Kavanas. You have your Shevet has his needs, and there you are. The Torah bothers to write that 12 times to show us how important the Kavanah is. The Kavanah changes everything. It's a different carbon, even though on the surface it looks like the same. But we in Judaism have been taught, don't look at the surface. Al tistakel b'kankan. Look at what's inside. Look what's going on inside. That is the whole difference. So Kavanah is everything. We have learned from the Baal Shem Tov. Where do you connect? In your Davening Shmon Esrei, where do you connect with Hashem? In your words? No. You connect with your mind. That's where you connect with Hashem, in the Machshava. It's vital. People don't realize it. Machshava is so basic, it's so central. It's the basis of everything. Of course you have to have the Maisa. You have to do the deeds. You can't say, well, I have a good Jewish heart, I have all the Kabbalahs. When it comes to being, Mekayim the mitzvahs, well, I don't put on tefillin. So what? So what? I don't put on tefillin. Well, I don't eat in the sukkah. You have to do the deeds too. There's no question, you can't avoid doing what you have to do. But the whole difference in the quality, and that's what's really important. The quality is what your kavanahs are when you're doing the deeds. So we have a klal in all of Shas. Mitzvos tzrichos kavanah. When you do a mitzvah, it has to have the kavanah. What do you mean it has to have the kavanah? It has to have the kavanah that I'm doing a mitzvah. Now, I'll give you an example. Without the kavanah, the deed isn't worth anything. The deed's not worth anything. You have a ring, and you have a woman, and you give her a ring. Wow, what a nice present you're giving me. Does she think that you want to marry her? She doesn't think you want to. Are you giving her a ring? It's a nice ring. It's a decorative ring. Some jewelry you're giving her. Does it mean you want to marry her? No. You have to verbalize your intention. You have to tell her what your kavanah is. I'm giving you this ring for the purpose of marriage. Without that intention, she has no idea that I want to marry her, and she has no idea that she wants to be married to me. It's a casual relationship. I'm giving her a present. I'm her employer. She works for me. I'm giving her a present. You have to have the kavanah clear. It's not the words themselves. The words only tell you what the kavanah is, but you have to have the kavanah. If you don't have the kavanah, so we give you the ring, it doesn't mean anything. How do I know what the kavanah is? By saying it. But the Kavanah makes the difference between giving a present and being Makadosh and Isha. It's marriage or just a present. The same thing also when I give tzedakah to somebody. Give tzedakah. Well, I have mercy on the guy. He's a poor fellow. He doesn't have what to eat. But did I have kavanah to do it because Hashem said it? Because it's a mitzvah? Or because of my merciful heart that I have? I can't take to see a person going around and starving and doesn't have what to eat, so I want to help him out. But I have to do it because Hashem said it, not because I feel mercy for him. It happens to be the nature of Jews. We're merciful people. Rahmanim, Baishonim, Gam Chasadim. Happens to be our nature. But I'm doing this act because of my nature or because Hashem said. If I don't have the kavanah, I'm doing because Hashem said, then I didn't get the mitzvah.
Excuse me. The example you made about the ring.
The ring.
What is the kavanah of the woman receiving it? Let's say the man is saying, "Adat mekudeshet li betabat zokedat Moshe Israel." What is the kavanah of the girl if she doesn't want it or if she does want it?
Of course, she has to agree. She has to agree.
How do you express her agreement?
By accepting it, by taking it.
If she doesn't say a word and she takes it?
You have to say why you're giving the ring. I'm giving you the ring because I want to mekadosh you.
Yeah.
And then she said, okay, she takes it. That means she's selling herself, giving herself to you. You expressed your intention, and she accepted. If she doesn't want it, she said, well, I don't want to marry you. I'm not taking the ring.
She takes the ring because she likes the ring.
If she takes the ring,
that's a simon that she agreed to what you say.
Maybe she just wanted the ring.
We can't assume that. We can't assume that.
No? If she takes the ring?
No, we're talking about a normal woman. A normal woman. If she said,
normal?
If she said,
what's normal?
No, a normal woman who takes the ring, takes it because she heard what he says, and she's happy. If she says, I'm taking it only as a present, then she's not married. If she says clearly, I'm taking it as a present, not as a kedusha, then she's not married.
No, what I meant is, maybe somebody can marry the mirma.
No.
No.
If she takes the ring without saying a word, that means she's accepting what he said.
Okay.
Unless she says the opposite.
Okay.
So kavanah is essential. Intention is essential. Therefore, when I count Sfiras HaOmer, I have to intend to do it because Hashem said so. Not because it happens to be a custom that everybody does it and I do it because everybody else does it. It's done because it's a mitzvah. And where is the mitzvah? That's why you say the pasuk. Because it says in the Torah, "Usvartim lachem imachas haShabbos b'yom avi'echem sheva shavos tnimis tiyena." The Torah says to do it because Hashem said so. That's why I'm doing it. Now I'm mekayim the mitzvah. Now it's a mitzvah. I've done it with that intention. That's all. That's the basic minimum. Now the question is, if that's so important, so true, why do these places who daven Ashkenaz just cut it out? They ignore it. Yes, unfortunately, the answer is because
they're lazy.
No.
No, I mean, I have an Ashkenaz that's going to sit here and it has all of it. It has all the...
It's an art scroll is different. Art scroll is different. They like to make everybody happy, so they bring in everything. The answer is the following. There was a man called Shabsai Tzvi. He was a great Kabbalist, a very big Talmud Chacham, but unfortunately, I don't know what happened later in his life or early in his life, he
became a mountain.
False. He was false. He was what they call the false Mashiach, or false Messiah, right? Now, because of his association and knowledge of Kabbalah, and Hasidim and people who daven Svard are also very closely connected to Kabbalah. And I had a friend who did research on Shabsai Tzvi in Europe at that time. He said, my friend told me, his research showed them Shabsai Tzvi had 3 million followers. 3 million followers. Among them, Gedolei Yisrael, Rabbanim. 3 million followers.
They didn't know that he was.
But nevertheless, they believed in it. They believed in it. And then all of a sudden, it turned the table, right? Became a Muslim, as you said. Or he agreed. I don't know if he actually did or didn't.
They were going to kill him.
Yeah?
They were going to kill him. They didn't.
All right, whatever. So
he said, you have to go down in order to come up.
all kinds of things. But the point is this. The Ashkenaz world said, if that's going to happen again, to be tremendous, tremendous tragedy. We got to avoid that at all costs. So anything which reeks, has a smell of Hasidus or Kabbalah, we just push it aside, just do the mitzvah itself. And therefore, don't hit any nothing. Just count the zero, the bracha, and that's it. That's it. The basic minimum. But they're not really in principle against it. They're only doing that as a necessary means of avoiding a tragedy. They don't want people to get involved with Hasidus and Kabbalah and all of a sudden have a big fall. Like, for instance, I'll tell you, I lived in Crown Heights 28 years. I saw the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Olav Hashem, thousands of times. I used to see him in the street, he used to greet me good Shabbos, I used to greet him at Shabbos. There are people in the world who are sort of, what can I say, sort of light-minded. Light-minded. In every walk of life, you have people who are serious, people who are thinkers, you have people who are light-minded. There were people who believed that the Lubavitcher Rebbe was Mashiach, actually was Mashiach. And I heard on the radio one of his Hasidim was talking one day, and the interviewer said to the Chassid, what will be if the Rebbe closes his eyes? What will be if the Rebbe closes his eyes and he's nifter? What's going to be? She said, can't happen. Can't happen, such a thing. It's impossible. They believed that the Rebbe was not human. He can live forever. And believe it fully with their whole hearts. Believe it. There were people at his Levaya who walked them from 770 to the burial place in the Queens, New York. They set up tents there and they slept there for weeks. They could not bear the idea that the Rebbe is leaving them. They slept there, put up tents and slept there on the base of chorus for weeks. The tents were there. They just couldn't bear to. So the Ashkenazi world is afraid of this. And there are a lot of people who had to have psychological counseling after the Rebbe was nifter. They really were so, the floor was pulled out from under them. It's something that happened, they couldn't believe it, it's happening. They want to avoid such tragedies, and therefore they negate anything that has to do with Hasidus and with Kabbalah. Therefore, only the counting and the bracha, which is the basic minimum, the basic requirement, that's what they do, and no extras. Anything which can be avoided, which has to do with Hasidus and Kabbalah, push it aside. In principle, I say they're not against it, but they're afraid of another Shabsai Tzvi, or anything connected to it. But we here, I myself, of course, I say all of the Shem Yichud, the Hineni Muchan, and the Pasuk, and afterwards all the Tfilas, it's all very important. All very important. What's going on in Tzviras HaOmer is very simple, in general. We were not worthy of redemption in Mitzrayim. We were not worthy of it. What happened was, in the last 86 years that the Jews were in Mitzrayim, they became culturally assimilated. Culturally assimilated. Even though they looked like Jews on the outside, they didn't speak Egyptian, they spoke Lashon HaKodesh, Chazal say. They kept their Jewish names, but inwardly they were Oved Avodah Zarah in Mitzrayim. Jews were idol worshippers in Mitzrayim with their Jewish dress and their Jewish names and their Jewish language. They were idol worshippers. I don't know all of them, how many of them, But this is what Chazal tell us, that this is what was the culture of Mitzrayim. So they became culturally assimilated. When you're such assimilation, God knows what's going on inside you. Are you worthy of redemption? Are you worthy of redemption? You're worthy to be taken out of this gullus? You're not worthy. But God has a plan. God has a plan. And He promised our father, Avraham Avinu, that we're going to come to Eretz Yisrael. And in Mitzrayim, according to the normal, I would say, laws of Teva, of the nature, it was not possible to leave Mitzrayim. They had great magicians in Mitzrayim who knew what we call black magic, which was real. They had a power to cast a spell. And you could not leave Mitzrayim. The magicians of Mitzrayim were able to cast a spell that kept people from making an exit. You could not get out of Mitzrayim. Hashem had to do something which was superimposed, overwhelming over all this to get us out of there, and He got us out of there. But we were not worthy of it. That's why we have to be so grateful, and Leil HaSeder is devoted to expressing this gratefulness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what it's all about. A whole night to express our gratitude to Hashem for taking us out of there, even though we weren't worthy of it. Okay, so He took us out, and that spell of that booster shot that we got lasted 24 hours. Now Hashem says, now it's no more easy going. Now you have to work on it yourself. I brought you up to a level which you were able to overcome the tomb of Mitzrayim, but now I'm taking away that booster that I gave you. Now you have to build yourself up to be worthy of what you received in Mitzrayim, and then you'll be able to get the Torah. And that's what Sphere is all about. Sphere is all about going from step by step, slowly, 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 building ourselves up to the point where we're worthy of receiving the Torah and on Shavuos. That's what it's all about. It's a long process, it's very complicated, and maybe we can talk more about it in the coming weeks, but there's one thing which is underlying this all. One thing underlying this all. And I have to emphasize this and get this clearly because it's so basic. If you don't understand this, you really don't understand anything about Judaism at all. If you take all of the mitzvahs, everything, what is the one major goal of all of the mitzvahs that we have to do? One major goal.
Bring us closer to Hashem.
Huh?
Bring us closer to Hashem.
Very good. What's the word for that in Hebrew? Dvekus. That's the word. Dvekus. That's the word. Dvekus. Attachment. The word devek in Hebrew means glue. And it's not for by accident that that word is used, because what attachment means, it means you become actually unified, you become one. All of the mitzvahs, 613 mitzvahs, are all an eitzah, the Zohar says, an eitzah of how to attach yourself to Hashem. This is what we accomplished at Har Sinai. We had that level of attachment. You know how much of a level of attachment we had? At Har Sinai we had a level of attachment where our insides, which means our neshama, our machshavas, had to leave the body. They were drawn to that attachment of whatever Hashem is, drawn to it, and there was massive death at Har Sinai, and there had to be Tchias HaMesim. That's what the goal of it all is. The mitzvahs are all 613 eitzes of how to attach yourself, come closer and closer and closer, so you're attached to Hashem. Now, at Har Sinai it happened. Hashem knows that the level that we reach at Har Sinai is not going to be able to maintain for too long. You cannot stay on that level being a human being, being a mortal with a physical body, You cannot be at that level. Even when they were at that level, their bodies had to separate from their souls. But Hashem wants the world to go on, and therefore the soul is going to be again reunited with the bodies. So what is Hashem going to do in order for keeping us close? He gave us the Torah. In the Torah lies the ability to attach yourself again. That's what we're learning from the Baal Shem Tov. He's teaching us in Davening how to reach this dveikus, not only through the mitzvahs, but from Davening itself. I'll call you back later. He's trying to teach us how to reach that. How to reach that. And here we're going to see a piece right now in the Baal Shem Tov about what this dveikus is. How you can actually perform it and do it yourself. Everybody can do that on a daily basis. Reach a certain level of dveikus, and we'll see what the Baal Shem Tov says. Take a look at the page in front of you, 149. 147. 147. Look at Peiches. Oz Peiches. On the top of the page. Peiches. You see that? Peiches? Now here he says something which is way beyond our scope. He says, Yasim kol machshavto b'koach hatevos. Now what does it mean? Koach hatevos. Those words, koach hatevos, means that the letters, the words, have energy. Do not think of the printed word as a word that a printer puts on the page, and that's it. There's something miraculous about this. The letters have energy. The queer shape of the aleph base, such queer shapes of the way, they're all made for a reason. Every ois that's formed in the aleph base is formed and shaped with a specific intention. Has to do with the way the energy flows through that letter. So when you say words, you have to try to focus on the energies inside the words, inside the letters. There's energy. Attach yourself to that. It's like saying to you, you holding a spoon in your hand. I don't want you to think about the spoon. I want you to think about the molecules inside the metal. Think about the molecules of the atoms inside the metal. That's what you really have to go connect to. Not to the form of the spoon on the outside, to the inside of the spoon, the molecules, the atoms which make up that spoon. That's what I want you to connect to. So he's saying these words have energies, and I want you to connect yourself to the words' energies. The words' energies, the energies inside the words. Where are these words coming from? Shehu medaber. You are enunciating those words, those letters. They're coming out of your mouth. This is amazing. It's amazing. By you making these sounds, you are creating energies. By just saying the letters. By saying the letters, you are creating energies. And you have to try to focus on not on what the words are, but the energy inside the letters that you're saying. Now look what he says. You have to be on a very high level for this. If you practice this, just shut it off. I don't understand it. What's going on? All right. If you practice this on a daily basis, you have to train yourself to do this. It takes thought. It's like an exercise in meditation. You have to say, I know the words that I have. You have to be thinking so the words that I'm going to say have tremendous amount of energy. And I want to be able to see that energy. You hear that? You want to be able to see the energy. You want to be able to see the sparks, the electricity inside the words that you say. It's possible to do it, but it takes a tremendous amount of training. You will see how the words, the sparks, are working with each other. And because of the interaction of those sparks, those electrical sparks, there are all kinds of energies which are produced. Hear this pasuk, listen to this amazing pasuk. We say this pasuk every year before Yom Kippur, before Kol Nidre. He says there's an or, there's an energy which is planted for who? For the tzaddikim. In other words, you can access this energy. If you want to, you can access the energy. You can connect to it. You can see it. But you have to work on it. You have to meditate to do it. It's possible. When you say a word, it's possible to see the energies inside those letters that you are pronouncing. It's possible to see it. It's totally, totally subjective. Because if a person's not on a level, he doesn't work at it, he won't see it. Even though they're there, but you won't see it. But you can come to that level. But Shem Tov is talking to who? Who's he talking to? He's not talking to the Rabbanim. He's not talking to he's talking to all of Klal Yisrael. We are his Talmidim. It's possible for us to do it also. It's amazing. You can see the energy inside the letters that you are pronouncing. You can see it. If you work on it and meditate on it, it's possible to see it. Amazing, amazing idea. And that's what the pasuk says. If you get to that point, you'll have tremendous amount of simcha. Imagine what that means. That you will be able to see the energies that come out of your mouth. It will be a tremendous amount of simcha. A very, very high level. Here he says a beautiful phrase. The letters of the Torah, the letters of Tefillah, those are rooms. Those are rooms which are occupied by the Kedusha of Hashem. The letters that you say, he considers them to be rooms. Rooms which are occupied by a tenant of Kedusha, of Hashem Yisbarach. He occupies the letters. Those letters, each letter is a room which is occupied by a tenant. The tenant is the Kadosh Baruch Hu and his Kedusha. And how do you get to that? By the letters that you are saying. This is what is meant by skipping down a line. Kuchabrichu, Vairaisa, Kula Chad. Ulutochan Tzar Adam says, Kol HaKavana Shuhan Neshama. You have a Kadosh Baruch Hu, you have Hashem Yisbarach, and the Torah. They're all one, and you put yourself into that. How is it that the Torah and the Kadosh Baruch Hu is all one? The Torah was created by Kadosh Baruch Hu, but Hashem put His energy into the Torah. And when you use your machshava to get into those letters, you are connecting to it's all one. It's a triangle of three levels of energy. You have a Kadosh Baruch Hu's energy inside the Torah, and you putting yourself into that by your meditation. You're joined in principle to the roots of what's going on. Very, very high. Very, very high. The kind of davening that we do, you won't reach it. That's why, you ever went to a Hasidic davening, very often you see that the Hasidim are davening in a larger room with an ulam, basic knesses, and the Rebbe very often has a little cubicle, a 2x2, and he's sort of separate from he's there in the shul. He has a little room, maybe 2 amas by 2 amas, and he's there by himself. And he's together with not in Chabad it wasn't that way. The Rebbe davened together with the Talmidim, with the Hasidim, but many Hasidim, the Rebbe has a separate little cubicle for himself. Why is that so? Why? Because these Rebbes, they try to practice this. They wanted to have sort of a solitary place where they're not going to be disturbed. If they want to disconnect from the tefillah, they can disconnect by going into the deep meditative states of connecting to the energies inside the words. And that's what they did. And that's why the Hasidim we're drawn to these people. Is that I want to be close to a person who connects to Hashem on that level. I want to be close to that because that is my connection. He's my connection to Hashem. He's really connected at a high level. I want to be connected to him. I can't connect like he's connected. But the Baal Shem Tov is telling us here, each one of us can reach that. It's not reserved for anyone special. It's available to every single body, and it brings you, if you get to that point, a tremendous feeling of simcha. There's nothing that can be compared to it. It's a state of euphoria. A state of euphoria. When you get to that level, you can do it with meditation and trying over and over and over again. And the more you try, HaKadosh Baruch Hu one day will open it up for you. But you have to really be earnest and sincere about it. It's possible. But again, the davening, it can't be a 45-minute davening. It has to be a davening where you start off the Shemona Esrei with everybody else, but afterwards you're soaring. Afterwards you're going into your own world. You just started off with everybody else, that's all. But then you're going into your entire world. You're going into deep, deep meditation, trying to go into the letters that you are pronouncing. And you know what a Dalet looks like. You know what a Hey looks like. You're going into the letters and trying to meditate into the inner sanctum of those letters. In time, you can get to the point where you can see the electrical charges inside the letters. That's the energy. It's possible to do it.
Don't we have to understand the actual meaning of the energies of those letters?
I don't think so. I don't think so. That helps you possibly in making the actual davening more meaningful as far as Olam Hazeh is concerned. As far as what's going on in this world, the things that you need, it may help you. But what you're trying to do is so far above anything which is physical. You want to connect to the energy. You want to connect to what's going on, the real essence of the world. What is making this world tick? What is the inner? Like, you want to see the atom. You want to see the atom. You have to have an electron microscope to go into. That's what's really ticking. What keeps this table a table? What keeps this phone a phone? There are molecules, there are atoms inside it. They are the ones. They are the composure of them makes up this object, makes up this table. I want to see that. I want to see the essence. I'm finished. I'm not interested in seeing the exterior. I want to see the internal. What's going on inside? That's the real truth. That's what I want to get to. I want to see the real truth. When you get to that level, all other things don't matter anymore. They don't matter. We said the formula of the Baal Shem Tov was that for most people, you're never going to get to all the kavanas. What is your name? What's your name?
Larry.
Larry. What's your Hebrew name?
Aryeh.
Aryeh. For most people, the Baal Shem Tov said, you're not going to get to all the kavanas. So what you should do is, for the average person, Baal Shem Tov says, say to yourself, I know that these letters contain everything. The letters, all the energies, everything's there. Hashem is inside the letters. I want to attach myself to that, so I am relying on what the Anshe Knesset Gedolah formulated for us, these tefillos. They made the brachos, the nusach. I'm throwing myself into the letters. I can't possibly come to all these, but I'm throwing myself into it. I'm giving my whole self, my whole essence, I'm giving it over into the letters, and as the letters go up from my mouth to Shemayim, I hold my neshama should be in there, and it goes up with them. That everyone could do. Everyone could do. I don't have to think about anything. I have to know about the meaning. If I can think about the meaning at the same time, well, it enriches it a little bit. But it's not necessary. Baal Shem Tov is trying to tell us that the davening is a medium for a person to reach dveikus. You can reach this level of attachment, and it brings you to a tremendous high, a tremendous simcha, a tremendous euphoria. If you can reach it, that's what Hashem really wants. As I said before from the Zohar.
I'm not talking about the meaning of the Hebrew.
No.
I'm talking about the higher level energy that you're talking. Is there a meaning of, I don't know, when you say reaching this energy, is there a deeper meaning of that energy? I mean, the translation of the Hebrew, that's, you know.
No, it's a feeling that you have that you're close to something really, really true.
Mm-hmm.
Something you're attached to that. It gives you that feeling of completeness.
Mm-hmm.
Of you know.
Have you reached this, Rabbi?
No. Unfortunately, I haven't reached it.
But I agree.
You would say yes.
Huh?
I was hoping you would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Halavai. I would have to spend, as it is, my davening, look, a person who has to live in our world, and you have a schedule to meet, and you have things that you have to accomplish. So, it's impossible. As it is now, I daven with the next minyan. I daven early. My Shemona Esrei takes me 15, 20 minutes. And that's not enough time. It's not enough time. Meditation takes much more time. You have to be totally relaxed. You have to... I understand, there used to be a minyan here on Rechoviah, Gripas here, of Mukubalim. It took them 4 hours every morning to daven Shacharis. They started at 5 o'clock and they ended at 9. And then they went to work, whatever they had to do. 4 hours. I don't have that time. I can't do it.
I used to go to a minyan like that for years.
You who?
I went to a minyan like that for years in the hotel down in the tunnels.
Yeah.
We would start at 4 something and end at 9.
Well, I don't know if those people reached it either, but they were using the kavanas of the Rashash, all kinds of, they had certain kavanas. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something even higher. We're talking something even higher. We have the great Mekubalim in the past who told us these are the things that you have to think of when you're davening. These things are your thoughts are going to make these things happen in Shemayim, makes all kinds of tikkunim. But that's not the dreikus that we're talking about. He's talking about something higher. Even higher. You have to reach a state where all of a sudden, you're in a state of meditation and you get into an area, wow. Like it's a new arena opened up, totally new. It's an experience which can't be explained unless you're actually in it. I'll give you an example. We have in Am Yisrael, we have a sefer called Sdei Chabad. Sdei Chabad was a encyclopedic 12 volumes with millions and millions of sources. I can't even imagine how it's possible that one person could write such a thing. You can't believe it. I mean, if you see, we have encyclopedias today, or we have a computer today, that you just press a button and 1,000 sources open up to you. You press in one topic, and you have this person who lived a couple of hundred years ago, there were no computers, there was nothing. And what happened was, it was a nes. He was a Talmud in the yeshiva, and somehow some shivcha got involved with him, and there was all kinds of lila against him, some kind of false rumors that he had a relationship with this shivcha, and the whole thing was false. It was a plot against him, and he somehow controlled himself, and he didn't come out and say that she's a liar, and he just was, shtika. He was quiet, and he describes, when he went out of that case, the court case, whatever happened, he didn't protest, didn't say anything. He said, all of a sudden, he says, the sky opened up for him, and he was not the same person he was anymore. All of a sudden, his mind just expanded. Expanded. Hashem gave him the reward.
This is the Sfas Emes you're talking about?
No, he wrote, no, that's the Sfas Emes. Sfas Emes was Ger Rebbe. That's the Sfas Emes. He wrote the Sdei Chabad, Chesky Medini, I think his name was. He was a Sephardi. But it's unbelievable that a person be able to write and see so many svarim. Just an example that we have in our day and age, Rabbi Yosef, Olav Shalom. He was that kind of a person. I mean, I saw the library of Rabbi Yosef's house. He lived in Har Nof, and he was once on the radio. When he was a chief rabbi. He was once on the radio. And the interviewer was with him, the moderator was with him, and he was taking calls that were coming in from any place in the world. And he's standing there, and I'm listening to them. People asking questions to Rabbi Yosef on the radio, and he's answering, and he's firing this sefer and that sefer. Not only is firing this, he's quoting from the sefer. He's quoting from it. And the moderator is just unbelievable. He says, Rabotai, I will tell you, the rabbi doesn't have any svarim in front of him. No svarim. And he's quoting hundreds of svarim. They say that Rabbi Yosef went through thousands and thousands of svarim and didn't forget anything. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I saw a couple of people like that in my life. There used to be a rabbi here in Rabbi Kroll. Also had a photographic memory. He never forgot anything. He would quote you a Tosfos, a Rashi, and it's unbelievable. I'm sure from any place in a second. These people had a special matana min hashemayim. It's like you have a computer in your mind. Computer in your mind. So it's something which you can't explain unless you actually experience it. So I would say this is what I'm talking about here. What Larry is talking about here. Once you get to that level of exposure, it's a totally different experience which cannot be explained. It's just something which you cannot leave it. If you have a choice, you want to stay there. But it's not explainable in words. Not explainable in words. It's like they said the two rabbanim. I forget who they were. One made up. They went with each other. They said, whoever's nifta first. It could have been the Ramban, I don't remember what, but there were two Rabbanim, famous Rabbanim. They made up a deal with each other. Whoever's nifter first says, you come back, you ask these questions in Shabbat, you come back and tell me the answers. So, okay, one was nifter, and then he came back in a dream to his chaver, and he started to go over the questions that they had made up beforehand. So he said to him, a couple of questions I had, he answered, some minor questions, but some of the major questions, he said to him, when I get up there aren't any questions anymore. There's no questions. When you get up there, it's a different experience altogether. Once you get up there, when you get this exposure, it's a different world, You see things totally differently, and the questions aren't there anymore. They just fade away. You understand everything. Like Adam Arishon, before the Chet, he had that kind of a mind. He was able to see the entire creation from beginning until end. He had that mind. The Avera that he did, he lost it. But beforehand, he was the Malachim, wanted to serve Adam Rishon. He was like Hashem. That's the mind that he had when Hashem created him. There was Adam Rishon. So I say again, when you get to this level of exposure, he's talking about this level of dveikus, which we didn't even get to see what we wanted to read you. We'll bring these papers back next week also. We'll go further into it. But this is what the Baal Shem Tov was talking about. You get to a level of attachment, of euphoric experience, which cannot be explained. It only is a way of saying it. You have tremendous amount of simcha. That's the word they use for simcha. Simcha does not mean when we see happy. It's too easy a word, happy. It's a state of euphoria. A state of tremendously full completion of contentment to its absolute extreme. Totally content. That's what he's talking about. That's the dveikus that he's talking about. It's possible to reach it. Maybe we'll try to make a group of doing meditation. We can reach it today. And put what the Baal Shem Tov is teaching us into practice. Better do it. Your question is a very good question. Will I ever reach it? Unfortunately, didn't. I want to reach it at least once. At least once. Maybe we'll try to do it together. We get somebody who's experienced in doing it and teach us how to get there. All right, next week we'll continue Mitzvah Shabbat.